Okay, I'm recording.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's up?
What's up? Let's do it.
Yeah.
First session. What is your show called?
The Gospel.
The Gospel.
In Icelandic though, it's Guðspjallið.
Guðspjallið.
Yeah.
What is it? I think in Danish. I don't know what the name is in Danish.
Yeah.
Yeah, so tell me, what do you want to talk about today?
So, well, I've been wanting to do this for a long time, just record some conversations, and just, felt like
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know, I just asked you if you wanted to come, and do the first one with me, and
Yeah, definitely.
I think, we just recently got to know each other, and I've seen some like interesting things or things that I find interesting, and just wanted to ask you about it and see what like your thoughts on different kinds of subjects are. And that's it. First time recording like this.
Yeah, nice. I feel honored. The first VIP.
The honor is mine. And I haven't really even like decided what to do with the recordings, like in what format it would be best to like put it out or share it. So we'll see. We'll kind of see how it goes.
Yeah.
Maybe put it on YouTube or to begin with Facebook. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people will find it interesting.
So yeah, can you tell me like a little bit about yourself, like just where do you come from, where are your upbringings, like what are your thoughts, or what are the things that you're learning like to this day, and what have you learned in the last, I don't know, 10, 20 or your lifetime?
Yeah, definitely. Let's do it. Yeah, I mean I think I had a very normal upbringing in the beginning of my life, just like a nice family, and I was living in Denmark, but we were in this area, like one of the very, you can say, slum areas of Denmark, before it like got into one of the nice areas now. And just around this, like from 8 to 12 years old, there was like a lot of death around me, like my best friend and my cousin and some other people, who died. And it was really difficult for me, to deal with emotions about it, and thoughts, like all these thought processes, like what happens when you die, why do people die, what's happening after death, all of these questions. And no one could really answer it, And it created a lot of tension in my life, and a lot of like discomfort. And it was really difficult for me at the time to like keep focus in school. And of course, then if you don't keep focused, then what do the teachers, they start saying, this guy, he's like this boy is like this, they're like this. And then you look at who else is being called stupid, or who else is like being called like this, and you start maybe to interact more with those people. I mean, of course, right? Like we do. That's what the pack animal in us wants to do. And then around 14, was the first time I was introduced to boxing, normal boxing. And I really had this, like first time really having this like success experience, like I could use the anger, I could use like all of these things, that was like inside to get it out. And I started training Thai boxing for some years. It was really amazing, there was like a big shift that happened for me. I was like this maybe a little bit chubby, a little bit angry kid, and I became like, of course also with the age, which is normal, you lose a lot of fat in that period, but then together with the training it really made like a huge transformation for me, both mentally and physically. And I didn't do anything at that time, I was being much more better in all the subjects I was doing, and really having a much nicer lifestyle. Then I just told you when we were walking, outside, that my father didn't allow me to go into fighting. Like I wanted to do, you could say, like amateur boxing, child fights, youth fights. And then I just had this, I just almost gave up on training, I just started smoking weed and just like hanging out on the streets, because I was like super bored about everything, and like there was nothing really to do. I didn't understand the purpose of training, like why did I want to train if anyway I could not use it for what I wanted to use it for. And it led me down, like some almost 5 years, of like a lot of violence and crime and all of these things you can find it. Maybe we can put the link to the movie so people they can see it maybe if they want to. There's like this half an hour documentary where it goes more into details because it's like too much to sit and give all the details, you know. But yeah, I was really angry. I was really pissed off in that time. And then around 20 years old, you know, people, they started to tell me in the environment, they were like, you need to chill out, you know, you need to relax. People are speaking about you, because I was always doing really crazy things, you know. And I didn't listen, of course, because at that time I just thought I was like the big shark in the in the pond, right? And then one night I was walking towards my house, you know, in the street, and these guys, they came up and they had this like liquid acid in their hand, you know, and they sprayed this in my face, and they were just like beating me up.
Whoa.
Like really bad. Yeah, like really intense, because they knew obviously I was good at fighting and I was good at like taking care of myself, so they were, of course, there was some fear, you know.
And was they guys that you knew who they were, or had you had like altercations with?
I didn't know who they were, but I mean, they came up and they tried to rob me for my money. And I didn't want to give them my money. I was like, fuck you, like, who are you, like this kind of attitude, you know. And then they just sprayed this like bam right in my face, right, and then they beat me up, and they took, of course, the money anyway. Yeah. Which sucked.
Fuck.
And I was in the hospital almost 3 months, you know, after that. I couldn't see for a long time, you know, for almost two weeks. I had like no sight at all, just like, I think like 5% eyesight on both eyes.
Whoa, how was that?
Yeah, it was crazy.
Did
really
you go
crazy.
into like cause like we use our eyes so much like to like the way we view the world,
perceive the world,
is so much like based upon our eyesight. So like, what kind of experience was it to like lose it? Did you go into like some deeper like state of your mind?
Like the first thing was like, I sat with the doctor and he just said to me like, there's a very small chance that you'll ever be able to see again, right? And of course in that moment there's just like so much rage, right? It's like anger, hatred towards these people. And you know, he said to me, the best thing you can do is to cry, and you will get like this salt water to cleanse the eyes from inside, you know. But I was so angry. There was like no sad feelings. It was just like adrenaline, anger, just all of these things. And then I was sitting with these things to like cleanse the eyes for almost 48 hours. And like in those 48 hours was just like one long trip just of like crazy thoughts. But then after that, you know, when I was lying down, I really began to like, of course, you know, like think about my life. Like, okay, what is life gonna be if you don't see what is gonna happen, you know? Like, I was this personality, like always known for being very pretty and like with the nice girls and the right place with the right clothes and the right everything, you know. So it was really, there was a lot of thoughts, you know, going through my mind, and I had this like, fuck, I spent so much time, you know, on drugs, on crime, on just being an idiot, you know, that I really wanted to change. I had that seed, like, okay, I want to change, I want to do something different. And then I came out of the hospital, you know, after 3 months. And I wanted to change, but then I didn't have any tools to change, right? Like, the idea is like, okay, I want to do something different, but then I didn't have anything. The friends was the same, the flat was the same, like everything was in the same place.
Same environment.
Exactly,
same
same
habits.
environment.
Easy to go back to same habits.
Exactly, there was nothing to be like, you can say, go instead of those habits, right? So I did 1 week or something, and then of course the same guys, they were like, hey, what's up, bro, let's do something, and you go back into that whole circle, you know.
Yeah.
And it was just pain, you know, like smoking and doing drugs again, you know, like all of these things that I said, you know, in the 3 months, like, I'm not gonna do it again, never do it again. And then just coincidentally, you know, like one guy, he said, you know, there is this course, you know, with breathing techniques and yoga, and I just remember when I heard it, you know, I was like, whatever, man, like, I don't want to do yoga, you know. It was like so far away from me, you know, like, it was like nothing to do with my life at all, like literally nothing. But then I really respected the guy, you know, like I had a lot of respect for this. It was my friend's father, you know, and I known him my whole life, and he was also in the criminal environment. So there was something inside me that was like, okay, you know, if this guy's saying it, maybe there is something about it, you know, like maybe there is just something, you know, I can try it.
Because like a part of you identified with like the criminal activities and stuff like that. So when you see someone who you don't like, he has nothing of that, and he's telling you like, oh yeah, this is awesome, and you're like, then yeah, I'm not like you.
Exactly, less likely to go there.
But when someone who shares that with you,
Yeah, your role model. He was like my
Like a
role
role
model
model,
for
exactly,
sure, and he
yeah.
had been my role model for years in the criminal environment, right? Like really seen like, wow, this guy is like amazing, right? With like his house and his cars and girls and all of this stuff, right? And then all of a sudden he was saying it. So it took some time, you know, but then I somehow ended up calling him like, what's up? What is this thing, you know? And he was like, don't worry, bro, you know, I'm coming with you, you know, I'm gonna meet you at this place and, you know, everything. And I went there, and then of course he didn't show up, you know, and I was just standing there like, fuck, where's this guy? And then the people who were like doing the course, they're like, hey, what's up, you know?
Yeah.
And we were driving there, and the person who picked me up, he had been in prison for almost 20 years in Denmark for like armed robberies and kidnapping. And he was just, from the day one, you know, he was telling this story, and I was thinking like, okay, you know, like this guy is also some hardcore criminal, you know, and he's also doing this. So I was like, okay, you know, like let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
And I did the 5 days course. It's like a 5 days breathing course, the one I'm teaching also. You know, it's just like 5 days was like changing so many things in my life. But then at that time I had so much trouble, you know, in my personal life. I had like conflicts with so many people. I was always carrying a pistol at that time, you know, and I was always just like really high intensity lifestyle. So even I wanted to change and I got the tools, I still could not just do it, you know.
Like in a constant fight or flight mode.
Yeah,
Like always,
constantly, exactly,
always,
the fight
you know,
and flight
expecting
mode.
the crash or the
Exactly.
altercation. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I had to put the pistol away on the first day of that course, you know, and I was like really feeling afraid, you know. I was like, I don't have anything with me, and I was in this room and there was other people, and so it took almost 1 year, you know, where I was still like full on in the criminal environment, really like aggressive. And then there was just like one New Year's Eve, I was just like hit the wall, you know, just like, and I remember we had lots of money, there was like girls coming, we had flight tickets, you know, like everything was like perfectly lined up to have like the most amazing experience. And I just started asking these questions, you know, like, what's the point of this? Like, I didn't see the point, I didn't feel happy about it, I didn't feel like I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And all the other guys, you know, they were like, no, what do you mean? Like, we have cocaine, we have like money, and I was like, fuck this, you know, like, what is the point? You know, like, I didn't understand what the point was.
Yeah.
And then they were just thinking like, they thought like I had to go to the mental hospital,
Yeah.
you know? They were like, what's happening? You know, like, you're turning crazy or something. And then they called my big brother at that time, and he came and he was like, what's happening? And I was telling him all of this, and he was like, okay, you know, so if this is not what you want, he's like, what do you want? You know, like, what is it that you want then? I was like, I don't know. And he was like, when were you last time feeling like happy and something made sense for you? I was like, doing this stupid, you know, like breathing course, you know, like doing this course. And he was like, so just go back to it. And I was like, oh no, I didn't, you know, like I didn't want to go back to it either, because it was like strange and I didn't really understand it.
Out of your comfort zone.
Totally out of the comfort zone, right? And then what happened was this, the guy who initially introduced me to it, he came like some weeks after New Year's. My brother had called him, right? And he was just like picking me up, and he was like, oh, let's just go for a drive, you know. And we were like just driving around and like driving, and all of a sudden I was like, you know, where are we, you know? And he's like, oh, just going to this Jakob, you know, it's the name of the teacher who is doing the course. It's like, just going to meet him really quick, you know. And I was like, what? And he just like literally, it was like 1 hour outside of Copenhagen, and he drove me there, and we went up. And then he instantly said to that teacher, he was like, told him everything, like what had happened to me and like the whole thing. And this guy, he was like, okay, if you want, you know, you can just come, you know, you don't have to pay any money, you can just like join the program and, you know, like start putting yoga mats and just helping out. And I was thinking, okay, you know, maybe it's nice. And I just started doing the practice like slowly, not a lot, you know, in the beginning, just a little bit, and just helping out, putting some mats. And then then after a couple of months, you know, he told me I had to go to the more advanced stages of it, you know, like go deeper into the practice. And I was really trying to escape it. I was making all kinds of excuses, you know, like, oh no, I'm still smoking cigarettes. And he was just, that's okay, you know, you can smoke there, it's fine, you know, like, don't have to worry about it. No, I don't have money for it. He was like, that's alright, you can just borrow money from me, you know, like, I'm gonna pay for you, don't worry. And then the last thing I tried was like, okay, but you know, I have work, you know, like I'm working, I really cannot attend. It was like a 5 days workshop where you had to sleep together and practice together. And he was just like, okay, I can call you an employee, it's fine. He was like, just let me call and speak to them. I'm definitely sure they'll give you the days off.
Yeah.
I was just thinking like, fuck, okay, you know. And I went for that 5 days program, you know, with him, and I met the founder of the organization, like this highest teacher you can say of that organization. and he was saying, you know, like, just you're gonna be busy, you know, just be ready, you know, because you're gonna be very busy. And then I just started slowly giving like talks to young people about like addiction, coming out of crime, coming out of gangs, which is also what we are gonna implement, I hope, more of in Iceland. You know, I talked to Bjarki, you know, to start giving talks to different schools and stuff like that, and just, you know, reaching out and just showing people that there is so many alternatives, you know, not just breathing, but it can be training martial arts, it can be dancing, whatever it is, doesn't matter. There's just so many nice alternatives, but it requires for people to go and reach out to them, right? And like take the youth, just like someone also took me. Yeah, and then what happened? I was doing it for 4 years almost, just teaching and like training and giving talks. And I got really not tired of it in a negative way, but I just felt like, okay, I was only 25 at the time, right? And I was like, okay, I want to, you know, that has to happen, something new has to happen. And I started looking up Kung Fu, Tai Chi. I thought it was like the thing that was still had the spiritual and like compassionate aspects, but also had some fighting and stuff in it.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know, I could just go to China for like a month, and then, you know, like you can do a yoga training in like a month. The normal yoga training is just like 1 month, and you're a yoga teacher, you're a yoga master almost, you know, people portray themselves as. And I thought
you can put on your Instagram that
right.
you're a yoga teacher.
Exactly, I'm a yoga teacher.
Yeah.
And I went to China for a month to train Tai Chi. And when I came back, I think there's a time probably of my adult life I had like the lowest self-esteem, you know. I just felt like, okay, I didn't get anything, you know. I understood nothing of this whole thing, you know, even though I was training very seriously for a month. And I realized, of course, it was much more difficult, you know, to train the Tai Chi, because it's much more coordination of body and breath and circles and triangle movements and all of this, like it is in all martial arts, right? And yeah, then I was offered a job in that school, you know, to do the social media. So I went back to stay there, and I stayed for almost 6 months, and I was training a lot and like learning a lot. But still there was like, they didn't really understand the deeper aspects of the Kung Fu, which I was looking for, you know, like really understanding the energies and understanding all of this stuff. And I didn't get it in this school. They didn't know about it.
Yeah.
Maybe they knew, but then they didn't teach it. And then just one guy, he came one day, you know, like he was just passing through, and he saw me, and he was just saying to me like, what are you doing here? Like, why are you in this school? It's like, you're searching for something much more deep than this, you know, you're just going into only the physical aspect. He's like, you're searching for the deeper aspects.
Yeah.
And he told me about a master that was living in the mountains, and you can go and visit him. And so I was thinking, okay, you know, this is what I've been waiting for, you know, like the chance to find, like you see in the movies, you know, like a real master in the temple, you know, like the real guy
in the
you know?
mountains, man. That's
exactly.
That's crazy.
And I left, you know, just I think like a couple of weeks after I just left, you know, I was just like, okay, I'm gonna go to this place. I had the number to like one of the monks who were living there. Called her up, you know, I was like, hello, I'm from Denmark, you know, I'm in this and this place and this mountain. And she was just like, okay, well, we don't take visitors right now, but you can just, you know, like wait, and I'm gonna like get back to you.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. And I was like waiting for 3 days. I went to like somewhere else and like training, and I was thinking like, oh, it's been 3 days, you know, like what's happening? You know, like calling her again, and I was saying, what's happening? You know, like I'm still here. And she was like, oh, yeah, I think it would be around like 3 or 4 months, you know, before we can have visitors. And I was just thinking like, no, like, you know, I'm like, I traveled, you know, like 2 days, you know, in train to get to this place, right? Like 2,000 kilometers, right? Cross China to reach for that place. And I was like, and she's like, no, I understand that, but it's like, we don't have visiting times. It's like, I was just thinking like, what? I spent all this time, you know, to come here. And I went back to the other school, and I just continued my training. And I had booked the ticket actually to go to Thailand at the time, because I just thought, okay, whatever, forget this Kung Fu anyway. No one can teach me what I want to do. So I'd rather just learn like Thai boxing, where they at least, you know, like you have a strong physical aspect of it. And then just on the day I was about to leave, I received a text from this person, and she was like, you can come tomorrow. Like, you can arrive tomorrow in the temple and like visit, right? So I was like, okay, crazy. You know, I knew it was like almost 36 hours to reach there. Just went into my room, packed my bags, like everything, just went up there. And, you know, I took that whole journey again back there, came out with just a piece of paper where it had the Chinese written, just like the name of where I was going. I was like in a taxi with this paper, you know, to this guy like, I'm going here, like here. And he was just driving around, and then he just stopped some random place, and he was like, okay, like we are here now. And I was just looking around, and I was like, no, like I have no idea where we are. We're just like in some random village, you know. I was like, no, this is not it. And he was like, no, it's here. And I was like, it's not here. I was like getting angry, but he didn't understand English, you know. So I think there was no communication really. It was just more like me shouting at him and like pointing at the paper again, you know.
Like you had to use your body language.
Yes, a lot of body language.
It's also like interesting. Like I talked about the eyes earlier. It's like such a big part of our perception of the world. And the word language is also such a big part of our communication, you know. But like
when you're cut away from that, you have your body. You have to be like, no,
yes,
look at me. And we asked some random village people, and they were like pointing us in the right direction. And we had like a 1.5 hour drive almost up into the mountains. And we reached like the top of this mountain. And then I knew, you know, there was like around 1 hour walking where there's no cars that can go up. It's only by walking. So I was like, okay, it's here. And at that time, the taxi driver, he was almost getting afraid, you know. He was saying to me like, no, just like we go back to the city. He was like, I'm gonna drive you back. He was like, don't go out.
Yeah.
Because he was like just in the top of this mountain, you know. I mean, there was like, it's just some small houses, restaurants, and then nothing else, you know. And I was just like, no, it's here. And you come out of the taxi and you walk for this like 45 minutes up the mountain, you know. And you're just thinking, I got so nervous when I was walking there. I was thinking, okay, I'm just like so far away from everything. I don't have a telephone. I don't have anything, you know, just like stuck in China, you know. If something happens, you're very far away from Denmark.
Yeah.
But then reached the top, and the master was there, you know. The temple was there. There was like 3 students from, one from UK and one from America and one from France who were living with him. And I had like 3 days where we were like speaking, and he was just like explaining what his like viewpoints on martial arts is and kung fu and all of this stuff. And then he allowed me to be his student, but then I still had 6 months I had to wait before I could go back and train with him.
Okay.
So I went back home, and I was just like working, saving money, just like, okay, getting ready for it. And then I went and stayed with him, you know, 8 months. And I just came back, you know, like last year. And so crazy, you know, I just had this thought, you know, like, okay, it would be cool to come to Iceland and go and do something in Iceland. I had this thought when I was like in the mountains. There was no telephones or internet or anything. And then I came out, you know, and then this woman from Iceland, she wrote me just like randomly, like I don't know her, you know, never met her before. She's like, I heard you have done this yoga in prisons and stuff like this. And she's like, do you want to come to Iceland and do a project?
No way.
And then I thought, okay, you know, if this is happening like this, I'm gonna go to Iceland.
Yeah.
And I was in India first, and then I came just here, you know. Supposed to be here for 2 weeks only. But then I've been here for almost 2.5 months, right? Taught almost 100 people already in Iceland just alone, which is really amazing with the breathing techniques and everything.
Yeah, it's a big part of the population, you know.
Yeah, right.
Like 100 people, you know?
Right.
It's
and it's some cool people like you and like Bjarki and like some nice people, you know, who have been like awesome. I have met so many amazing personalities who also have this like very inspiring people, you know, who is my own age, and I think it's beautiful to see how many young people are waking up.
Yeah.
Like more and more people are just like, okay, forget about all this normal lifestyle of drinking and getting old and having a picket fence and a dog, and we're just gonna be bored at home. More and more of us is like waking up and just wanting to practice and train and do something different in society, you know, like create the shift.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
And we're lucky to get this teachings from you. It's like I think people are really open to it and ready to it, but sometimes what we lack is like the information, you know, like just having someone who has great knowledge of something and teaching us, you know. So it's like it's very we're lucky to have you here teaching. I think it's I mean, we're getting second-hand experience from this master in China in some mountains, you know, like...
that was one of the things, you know, he said. He was like, now you have learned it, and then now you have to teach it, you know, you must teach it. Because most of the people, is not to say anything bad about anything, but they don't have the direct experience. And when you have trained with like these kind of people directly, that's how it is, you know, you get something.
Yeah,
you
because
cannot get anywhere else. You
so
cannot
much
find it on YouTube.
of the teachings
you
are
cannot
like
find it.
watered down, you know. It's
Exactly.
like they're not from the source, they're from the,
Exactly.
you know.
Third or fourth or 10th link down, right?
10th. And then all of a sudden it's more about making your ass look nice on Instagram rather than, or your abs or ass, you know, like,
yeah, right. For the guys, it's definitely the abs and biceps.
And having it in your bio, you know, like I'm a yoga teacher, or I'm a fighter, or whatever.
I'm the best warrior in the world.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. So how, like, for 8 months in a mountain, like, what crazy. What's it like?
Yeah, that was crazy. But also, you know, I always say this to people, that was not my first time, you know. At that time I had already done like very crazy yoga training, you know. I had done like, one of the things I did was like 3 months in an ashram where we were training like 8 to 10 hours every day, and part of that was like 35 days of silence, so where you're not allowed to speak, where you just keep silence, and it's all about like observing your thoughts, observing your reaction patterns, what is happening, why are you doing this, why are you behaving, all of these things, you know, is like part of it. So it was not just going straight into that, so it had already been a lot of training prior to that, like mentally, physical training. But then the mountain was very tough, very, very tough, you know. We had no beds, just sleeping on something like this floor, you know, where this table we are sitting by, you know, just like had a blanket on top of it and like a little rice cushion, you know, and you're just lying there on your back. And you're so tired from like 6-8 hours of training every day, you know, just like the body just wants to have this soft bed, right, from your home.
But did you sleep better there than you sleep, like, you know what I mean? Like,
in the beginning, no. In the beginning, no. But then after, you know, you get used to it. It is amazing, and you like cut all this shit away, you know, like telephones and ex-girlfriends on Facebook and all of the things, right, that all of us are slaves to, right, and looking at, and you're just there with nature, with the animals, with the trees, and you train all of you together, you know, and everyone is just building, the energy is going stronger and stronger. Beautiful.
Because we have so many like releases in our daily, you know, our daily, like sex, you know, like escapes. Eating candy, sugar, whatever, like going out partying. It's all releases. So our like the energy is. It's like when you're playing a car game in PlayStation, and you have the nitro, you know, nitro bar, and you shoot out. But we're always like down at the bottom. It goes up, and we're releasing. We never let it like heal up full, so we can like, you know what I mean?
That's so fun. Yeah. There was actually one kid, you know, he was very clever, a Chinese kid. He would come all the way to the top of the mountain with like a big sack full of Coke and candy and stuff and sell to people. So sometimes we had some sweets there, you know, but of course it's not at all like, you know, you couldn't just go and get an ice cream or go and do something. Usual schedule would be around 4 to 7 days of training every day, and then like 1.5 day rest, where you could go down into the city. And in the city, of course, people would eat ice creams and eat normal food and everything, and then come back up and train. But I was there in the beginning, I was there for almost 1 month without going down. Just there in the mountain, very beautiful. And then even when you are down, you know, you don't feel like, you also begin to observe all of these things, you know, like you look at all the stores, you know, and people who are using a lot of money on all of these things, and you're thinking, oh, I'm so happy in this mountain, you know, where I just have like, I had like 3 pairs of kung fu outfits, and then I had 1 pair of normal clothes, and then that was it, right? Like I was waking up in my training clothes, I was falling asleep in my clothes, like just the same training clothes, waking up the next day, training again, falling asleep again. And you felt so happy, you know. But of course, when you're in normal life, you have to also fit a little bit into society. Even though people who have seen me always see me in completely white clothes.
You have to play along to the point where they don't lock you up, you know, lock you up in a mental hospital.
They don't think, okay, this guy's crazy. He thinks he's Jesus. But for sure, there's a lot of hardship, and that's also one thing I feel so happy about, that I can share it, you know, without people having to go through all of that. Even though I love to invite people, you know, you can get invited to go to the temple, people who really wants to go and check it out. But I'm also happy that there are people who just wants to share it in society, because it's not everyone who has the time, you know, to spend so much studying themselves and studying breathing. I mean, for me, that has always been my main focus, was like energy and breath. That was the two things that has interest and still has my interest much more than physical. I have also some friends, they came to the temple when they left, you know, they could break bricks with their hands, they could like smash bricks with flat hands, they could do crazy things because that was what their focus was on. Very beautiful.
Yeah, it's you can choose, you know, like
you have to choose also
where you intend, and like nothing is better than the other.
No,
so and they go hand in hand. You improve one and the other gets better, you know. So
exactly.
It's important to like nurture all the aspects.
Yes.
Physical and mental and the
of course the physical has to be, you have to be healthy, you have to be strong. And then you have to see, you know, is your role model Arnold Schwarzenegger? Okay, it's easy, just go and lift weight, do testosterone, whatever it is you want to do. Or is your, you know, role model Bruce Lee? Okay, then you have to do this kind of training. You just have to find out who is it that you want to, like, not be the same as, but in that direction.
Yeah.
Right?
Combine like the influence from that role model and like take from him what you think will benefit you and makes you interested, you know. It's important that you do what you're really interested in. So
super important.
If it's being like huge like Arnold, or if you see like the aspect of Arnold, you know, that he is huge and you admire it, and it makes you get a feeling in your fire in your belly, you know. You're like, yeah, I want to do that and do that.
This is what I need to do.
And if you are interested in Arnold, like, and his story of like coming from Austria and, you know, starting out bodybuilding when there was no one bodybuilding where he was lifting weights, where he was doing it, and like going into the army and sneaking out to go to competitions and like always going for it, you know.
Exactly. Full on.
It would have been easier for him to say like, no, fuck it, I'm in the army, I can't do it. But he found a way to do it, and like he had to take the consequences also when he came back. But
for sure.
But it was worth it to him, and they saw, you know, hey, this guy is up he's onto something,
he's
so they just put him in the kitchen so he could eat extra, you know.
Eat more food, boy.
And then he went to the US, and I mean the rest is
became
history.
a governor.
And
legend.
All the odds and all his surroundings always told him, you know, it's not possible for you to do it, but he did anyway, you know.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I always try to speak to the youth about also, you know. If you have some passion, you know, doesn't matter what it is. Even if everyone thinks it's ridiculous, who cares, you know. If you think it's nice, do it. Just do it, and do it 100%.
Yeah.
Now, don't hold back. If it's dancing, if it's collecting stamps, whatever. If you like it, that's great, do it.
Do it. And it's like, I think the struggle is always, you know, the voice in the back of your head, you know, like Definitely. What will everyone think about me, like
Definitely.
Will I look like a fool, like, you know, all these doubts, you know, like that are trying to make you go the safe road and play it safe and
right.
Just follow the path that's already been made out, you know. It's easier, but you'll always have that, you know, question in the back of your head.
Exactly.
Like,
what if I did it?
Yeah.
That's what.
And that's the one we should be avoiding, you know.
Definitely.
Like not the judgment of other people. So people.
And the funny thing is, you know, even when you do something that makes you feel great, they will judge you. But if you don't do something that doesn't make you feel great, people will still judge you anyway. So it doesn't really matter,
true,
you know.
It's true,
like no matter what you do, someone is gonna judge you.
Yeah.
So you might as well do what you think is awesome, what you think is cool, and then go for it, you know. Yeah, we always say, you know, there's like 5 kinds of fears we speak about. I always say this, you know, I always try to teach it to as many people as possible, right? The first fear is, you can say, the fear of showing who you really are, right? Like just taking off your mask and just saying, okay, this is who I am.
Being vulnerable, like,
exactly.
And honest.
Exactly, just being raw, you know, like, this is me, this is who I am.
Yeah.
Because we're afraid, like you said, people judging us, all of this stuff.
Yeah, just the thought scares me to death, you know.
Right.
It's like, oof.
And then the next one is like the fear of, you can say, the fear of loss, right? The fear of losing status or power, right? Or like in the extreme case, you could also say the fear of death, which is like the ultimate loss, of course, right? So we don't do something, we think, okay, if I do this, maybe people won't respect me, or maybe people won't think like this, and then we don't do it. And then we say the third one is the fear of failure, right? So before we even do it, we're like, okay, anyway, I'm never gonna find a master in China. I don't want to go there. But we already decide before we don't know anything about it. We just decide, okay, I can't do it. It's done, right?
Before we take the first step,
Right,
we
yeah.
decide that we
Already
won't
decided.
come to the right destination.
Exactly.
Like
That's a very common one, right? For
Yeah.
many people, right? We
Yeah.
want to just stay in the comfort zone, just stay in this, like, okay, anyway, it's not gonna happen, whatever. Then we say the fourth fear is the fear of success, right? Which is, some people say it's the same, but I always say it's the different ones, right? Because the fear of success, it's like, not on a conscious level maybe, but in the subconscious there is something that is saying to us, okay, I'm not good enough. You know, this voice that you're talking about is always saying, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough. That voice is making us not reaching the goal. Because then if we reach our goal, if you get success, what happens to that voice, right? Then there is an empty space all of a sudden. All the time we spend on saying, I'm not good enough, I'm not like this. Usually we see it, some people, they have very high success, 1 month, 2 months, and then they disappear. They just go down. They don't know how to keep that level.
Yeah.
There's something inside of them that has a fear actually of being successful. If you
Yeah.
got everything you wanted, then what? What are you going to complain about, right? All of a
Yeah.
sudden you're like, oh shit, I have everything now. Okay, then it's easier to just give the whole thing away and then start complaining again, right?
Wow. So it's like we feel like, yeah, we don't know how to be successful. Like,
Exactly.
Because we've already decided that
Right.
we don't deserve it. Like
Exactly.
that we're not good enough to be successful, or that we.
And there is an emptiness. Of course there is an emptiness. There is like this, when you give up bad habits, there is an emptiness. It doesn't matter if it's drinking or if it's mental habits of like saying I'm not good enough. There is an emptiness because you used to spend a lot of time on that. And that's where it's so important, you know, you have something like a practical tool to practice. If it's training, if it's breathing, if it's meditation,
Yeah.
if it's all three of them together, but you have something that you put instead of that, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, I feel like I'm crap. Okay, I do 10 push-ups.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. But something that snaps you out.
It's like the best way to, if you want to change your diet, improve your diet from being a diet where you're always in the spiking yourself up and crashing down, spiking
Right.
up, crashing down, and
Roller coaster
eating
diet.
like low quality like sugars and,
Yeah,
and stuff like that will not like nurture your body, but only like set fire to your system, and then it will crash down again. If you want to quit that behavior and start eating more like food that will nurture your body, keep it at a level, constant rise in health instead of
Right.
always being shooting
Yeah.
up, then you need to focus on not to quit the sugars. You need to focus on adding
Right.
more healthy stuff.
Exactly, and that's, you can put that in anything, I guess, in life. It's not about breaking something old, it's about creating the new thing. You implement the new habits, right? And then that's also what I say to all of these people nowadays who is like, this system is not working, you know, the old system is like, okay, maybe it's not working, but you don't have to fight the system, you just have to make a better system.
Yeah.
And then that will automatically take over
Yeah.
in the end.
And it won't look back at the old system
Exactly.
because it's outgrown it, and it
Exactly.
there's something instead, like you don't just make a revolution and behead all the guys in charge.
exactly.
And then what?
Exactly, then what? Then it's just full chaos, right?
Yeah.
It's much better to just make something that works, and then
Yeah.
people will follow it. People will find the same with your body, like you say.
Don't stand and scream at everyone else that they're doing the wrong thing.
No.
You focus on doing the right, and by seeing you doing well or feeling good and being happy and healthy, they will realize, oh, maybe there's something to what he is doing, and then will maybe be inspired to take some of that and implement it into their own routines,
Usually the people complaining is the people who's not taking responsibility.
Yeah,
It's usually like that. It's in
Yeah.
all over the world, right? It's like the people complaining the most is usually also the one who then doesn't want to do anything. They're just like, this person could do better, they could play better like that, they could have done that.
Because it's the habit of pointing at other things and blaming
Yes.
them for the way things are, like instead of looking inward and taking responsibility for what you can do in any situation,
Mhm.
So if you're pointing at others, or you're pointing at the weather, or
Exactly.
your financial
There's always some complaint.
you can and when you're in that kind of state, you're always looking for new things to blame, that's
right.
you're always looking for the confrontation and for
something new. Okay.
Must be this must be like, because you refuse to look inwards, so you're always looking for
that is actually the last kind of fear. The fifth fear is the fear of that which brings higher awareness. Because the second you become more aware, then you see everything that you usually blame on everyone else has nothing to do with them, right? It's all coming down to yourself, right? It's like everything you want to give to people has nothing to do with them. You always think this person did this, that's why I'm feeling sad, that's why, but it has nothing to do with them.
No.
It's all yourself.
And in the same way, their behavior has nothing to do with you. Exactly. It's all to do with them and how they feel inside. So if they're telling you that you're an idiot, they're not really telling you that you're an idiot. They are looking in the mirror and telling themselves that they're an idiot, you know.
Exactly.
So when they're behaving like that, if you can like realize that, you know, it has nothing to do with me, but this person is just not feeling good in their soul. They're talking negatively towards the universe. That is themselves, you know. Like they're mirroring themselves in the surroundings, because it's all, you know, the same thing, you know.
For sure. Yeah. Everything we reflect out is just a reflection of the inside. That's what is so funny, right? It's like the more you become aware of it, the more you work with yourself, all of a sudden it's like everything becomes so much nicer. Everything becomes much more easy, much more like just gentle, you know. You don't have to go through all of this pain.
Yeah. That's why I love my dog so much, because I know that, you know, when she is happy, I see that she's happy, and when she's sad, you know, she's always reflecting her insights, you know. Yeah, she's always honest, you know?
Right.
And most of the time she's really, really happy.
Yeah, happy dog. Or sleeping.
Like now. Chilling out. Yeah, man.
Yeah, nice.
Should we hit pause for a while?
Yeah. How much do you have now?